He killed at least 5 people, maybe more. He sent coded letters to newspapers, taunting police, playing games. For 50 years, no one could identify him. But in 2021, something changed. Amateur detectives used DNA and genealogy databases, and they finally found him. The Zodiac Killer, the man who terrorized California and vanished into legend. This is the story of America's most famous unsolved serial killer case, and how it was finally cracked. This is Dark True Crime, where we investigate the cases that haunted generations. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. December 20, 1968, Vallejo, California. A young couple is parked on a quiet road. David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16. It's their first date. They're talking, laughing, planning their future. A car pulls up behind them. A man gets out, walks to their window. Without warning, he opens fire. David is shot in the head. Betty tries to run. The killer chases her, shoots her 5 times in the back. Both teenagers die at the scene. Police find no motive, no witnesses, no suspect. It appears to be a random killing, senseless violence. But 7 months later, the killer reveals himself. On August 1, 1969, 3 newspapers in the San Francisco Bay Area receive identical letters. Each letter contains 1/3 of a coded message, a cipher, 4-and-weight symbols. The letter begins, "Dear editor, this is the Zodiac speaking. The Zodiac Killer. He's given himself a name, and he's claiming responsibility for the murders." The letter continues, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous animal of all." He demands that the newspapers print his cipher on the front page. If they don't, he threatens to go on a killing rampage. The newspapers comply. Within days, a school teacher and his wife crack the code. The message reads, "I like killing people because it gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and all the people I have killed will become my slaves." But the cipher doesn't reveal his identity, just his twisted philosophy. The Zodiac continues killing. On September 27, 1969, he attacks a couple at Lake Berryessa. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard are picnicking when a man approaches wearing a hood with the Zodiac symbol on it. He ties them up, stabs them repeatedly. Brian survives. Cecilia dies 2 days later. On the car door, the Zodiac writes, "Vallejo 12-20-68, 74-69, Sept 27-69-630 by knife." He's documenting his kills, keeping score. 2 weeks later, October 11, 1969, the Zodiac strikes again, this time in San Francisco. Taxi driver Paul Stein picks up a passenger. The man shoots him in the head, takes his wallet and a piece of his bloody shirt. Days later, the Zodiac sends another letter. Inside, a piece of Paul Stein's shirt, proof that he's the killer. The letter mocks police. "School children make nice targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning." San Francisco is in panic. Parents keep children home. Police patrol school bus routes. But the Zodiac doesn't attack a bus. Instead, he sends more letters, more ciphers, more taunts. Over the next few years, he claims to have killed 37 people. Police can only confirm 7 attacks, 5 deaths. In 1974, the letters stop. The Zodiac vanishes. Decades pass. The case goes cold. Investigators retire. Witnesses die. The Zodiac becomes legend. Hundreds of suspects are investigated. Arthur Lee Allen, the prime suspect. But DNA evidence doesn't match. He dies in 1992. Still, many believe he was the Zodiac. Other suspects emerge. Richard Gaikowski, Lawrence Kane, Earl Van Best Jr., dozens more, but no definitive proof. The case remains unsolved. Then, in 2020, something extraordinary happens. Amateur investigators form a team. They use genetic genealogy, the same technique that caught the Golden State Killer. They obtain DNA from a Zodiac letter, from saliva on the envelope seal. They upload the DNA to public genealogy databases, GEDmatch, Family Tree DNA. They build family trees, trace lineages, narrow down suspects. In October 2021, they announced their findings. They believe the Zodiac Killer was Gary Francis Poste, a house painter from California. He died in 2018. Poste fits the profile. He lived in the right areas during the killings. He matches the physical description. Witnesses place him near crime scenes. Photos show a facial scar that matches a police sketch. He was violent, abusive. He owned the same type of gun used in some murders. But is it definitive? The FBI and police have not confirmed the identification. They say the case remains open. Some investigators are skeptical. They argue the DNA evidence is inconclusive, that more testing is needed. Others are convinced. They point to circumstantial evidence, the timeline, the geography, the behavior patterns. Poste's widow refuses to comment. His family denies involvement. The truth? We may never know for certain. Gary Francis Poste is dead. He cannot be prosecuted. He cannot confess. The Zodiac mystery may remain forever partially solved. But here's what we do know. The Zodiac Killer terrorized California for years. He killed at least 5 people, possibly many more. He sent taunting letters that frustrated investigators and captivated the public. For 50 years, his identity remained unknown. But advances in DNA technology, genetic genealogy, and the dedication of amateur sleuths finally provided an answer. Gary Francis Poste, a name that means nothing to most people, but possibly the man behind one of America's most infamous killing sprees. The Zodiac case changed criminal investigation. It pioneered the use of criminal profiling. It showed how serial killers communicate with media. It demonstrated the power of public involvement in solving crimes. And in the end, it wasn't traditional police work that cracked the case. It was new technology, genetic genealogy, citizen investigators, the same tools that are now solving cold cases across America. The families of the victims finally have answers. David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Ferrin, Cecilia Shepard, Paul Stein. Their names should be remembered, not just the killers. The Zodiac case reminds us that technology changes everything. What was impossible in 1969 became possible in 2021. DNA that sat in evidence rooms for decades suddenly had value. Public genealogy databases created new investigative tools. Amateur detectives armed with computers solved what professional investigators couldn't. If this case fascinated you, leave a comment. Do you think Gary Francis Poste was really the Zodiac? Or is the mystery still unsolved? Do you believe the DNA evidence is strong enough? Tell me your theory. Next video, we're investigating the Axeman of New Orleans, a serial killer who demanded that the city play jazz music to avoid his attacks. One of the strangest cases in American history. Thanks for watching Dark True Crime. Hit that subscribe button if you want more cold cases, DNA breakthroughs, and mysteries that took decades to solve. The Zodiac Killer haunted California for over 50 years. He became a legend, a ghost, a cipher that couldn't be cracked. But in the end, science caught up with him. Genealogy, DNA, technology he never imagined when he sent those taunting letters. Gary Francis Poste died in 2018, never knowing that investigators were closing in, never knowing that his identity would be revealed. He escaped justice in life, but not in history. The victims and their families deserve to know the truth, even if it comes 50 years too late, even if the killer is already dead. Justice delayed is still justice. Remember their names: David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Cecilia Shepard, Paul Stein. They were real people, with families, with futures stolen. The Zodiac took their lives, but he couldn't erase their memory, and that's the final victory.